Whenever people discuss the benefits of working for a management consulting firm, especially the big three like McKinsey, Bain, or BCG, they usually say the same things. High pay, you get to work on interesting problems with smart people, you get to travel, credit card points, hotel points, etc., etc. And all of those are true, don't get me wrong. But in my experience, having worked at a consulting firm for a couple of years now, and now working in a startup, there's an even bigger benefit that honestly no one talked to me about. And so I want to talk to you all about it today in this video. My name is Neel, and if you're new here, I, along with my friend occasionally named Rohit, who also has a similar experience of startups and working at a big three firm, we like to make videos that help you more confidently apply to the big three consulting firms or any other elite consulting firms, especially given the fact that we did it from a non-target school and we want to help those who are coming from similar backgrounds. As I mentioned before, I recently moved out of the world of consulting into startups and realized one of the best benefits of consulting that no one ever taught me beforehand or while I was at Bain. And so I want to talk to you about it today in this video. And in short, I'm going to tell you up front, in short, this benefit or this lesson that I learned is that consulting can be really good at teaching you how to handle an extremely high workload while also maintaining your personal boundaries and personal life. And I'll get into that more in a second. It might seem simple, but there's actually a lot of nuance there, as well as ways that I think you all can develop this kind of skill, whether you're in consulting or not. Okay, so let's dive in. The reason I think consulting is really good at helping you develop this skill is because you are fundamentally working a lot of hours on projects that you might not care that much about. And of course, many of you all who are in college right now looking to apply to consulting might have this notion that all of the consultants who work in consulting really love driving value or helping the client. Don't get me wrong, there are people at these firms, McKinsey, Bain, BCG, who genuinely love what they do and they love working as a consultant, but I would say that's definitely not the majority. If anything, that's maybe less than a fourth of the people that I've come across. Most people instead enjoy the work a little bit, but realize that consulting for them is a trade-off of skills, prestige, a good name on your resume, good network, but then on the other end, you have to work long hours on things you might not care about. So anyway, let's get back to the main point of why is this the biggest benefit in consulting and why is it that consulting can help you with that well? And the fundamental reason, in my opinion, is that within consulting, like I mentioned before, you don't really care about the work that you're doing too much. Let me paint the picture for you. You're a consultant at a big three firm. You're working 60, if not 70, 80, sometimes even 90 hours a week on a project that you likely didn't choose in a subject matter that you probably don't care about. After many weeks, months, maybe even years of doing this, you're going to stop caring as much about wanting to do every piece of work that comes your way or every extra bit of analysis so that you can become a high performer. Instead, you're going to start caring a lot more about getting good sleep, spending time with your family, working out, and just doing those things that make you human. And it helps because the work that you're doing, like I said before, you don't fundamentally care about. And so it's easy for you to be able to really put up these clear walls of saying, by 7 p.m., I need to go do my CrossFit class or go to my yoga class or whatever it might be. I need to log off and hang out with my family. And that's a really big skill to develop because that encompasses a lot of things. And it might not seem like much at first, but having gone through it myself, there's a lot of lessons you need to learn to be able to do that. The first one of which is gaining the confidence to be able to just push back. Your boss, the client, they'll always have things that they want you to do, and it's up to you to figure out if those things are important. And so having the confidence to be able to know what's important and prioritize, but then also having your own sense of wanting to protect your own life and then pushing back is a really, really big skill. And so for me, what that would look like is wanting to make sure that I got a full 8 hours of sleep every night and worked out every day. And honestly, if you can protect those things, you actually become a better employee. It's kind of reverse, but oftentimes the best people that I worked with at Bain, and by best I mean the people I enjoyed working with a lot, but then also the people who just objectively were rated the best and performed the best, were the people who cared the most about their personal life versus work balance and made sure to fight for what they wanted to do outside of work the most. And so this skill that I'm talking about, which I would really characterize as ruthless prioritization, combined with being able to push back and put boundaries around work so that it doesn't invade your personal life, this, set skill or group of skills wasn't something I realized was super important until I went to a startup. So like I said, I've been working at a startup now for about 6 months, and one, I absolutely love it and can make more videos about that in the future. But two, I brought these skills with me. And so now I'm in an environment where I care deeply about the work and I actually really enjoy it. Like sometimes I'd find myself wanting to work on the weekend, in a way that I never felt like in consulting. But because I had these skills of being able to prioritize and then also set up my own boundaries so that I still got the most out of my personal life, I was able to make sure that work didn't burn me out or didn't totally encompass me so that I still had time for my life, whether it was friends, working out, or other things like that. And I contrast that to a situation in which if I would have jumped straight into startups out of undergrad rather than going into consulting, I think I would have been in a really tough situation and probably got burned out really quickly. Now, don't get me wrong, people in consulting still do burnout. There is a bunch of people that I came across at Bain or McKinsey or BCG who I thought gave way too much to their job without expecting much in return and didn't do a good job of fighting for their own personal life. And I think those people are going to burn out at some point. But I think it's more likely that you'd find that to be the case at startups where people really care about the work. Because at the end of the day, the only thing stopping you from working more at a startup is going to be yourself, because everyone else is too busy figuring out their own things. Of course, they're going to care about you or they're going to look out for you, but at the end of the day, it's up to you. Whereas in consulting, there's a lot more checks and balances in place to make sure that you're not working too hard. But it's still, of course, they will not stop you if you want to continue working. And so all that to say, looking at the skills that I developed in consulting, especially around this managing my life versus work, and then comparing it to my other colleagues at the startup who, for them, it's their first job, and they absolutely love it like I do. But the thing is, they don't have that concept of figuring out how do you put boundaries up, how do you make sure that your work isn't your entire life. They're having a lot tougher of a time figuring out that balance and navigating it in a way that they feel content and happy with. For example, if I'm working late on a Wednesday, I might feel totally fine coming in Thursday a little bit late, or maybe even halfway through the day because I worked late the previous night and I just wanted to get some good sleep, work out in the morning, and then work from home for a couple hours. I won't have any problem doing that, and I'll make sure to clear it with my boss, no worries. It wouldn't feel to me like I'm being a bad employee, but someone who's new at a company or never had job experience might say, oh no, like, am I asking for too much? Other people work hard and don't ask for these same things. Am I doing something wrong? Whereas for me, it's like, who cares, right? Like, I'm doing what I need to do. I'm gonna make sure that I give myself the proper lifestyle or fuel that I need, whether it's sleep, working out, etc., to be able to get what I need done and be the best person and employee I can be. And that concludes the biggest benefit that I think consulting has provided me that most people don't talk about. This is something that I just wanted to tell you all, especially those of you all who are looking to get into consulting, as just another puzzle piece in the constellation of things that you can consider when you're applying for consulting and what you want to do afterward. And of course, a piece of advice for you all, whether you end up going into consulting or not, whether you're in college right now or not, I think this is a skill that you can develop right now, which is figuring out what exactly is it that you want from life, figuring out what are you trying to accomplish, whether it's getting a degree, whether it's doing well at your job, and then figuring out ways that you can better treat the interplay of those things so that you can continue maintaining healthy relationships, good emotional, physical, mental health, and get the things you want out of life. I think a great example of this that I remember from college is people would always stay up like so late, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 a.m. studying for exams, get terrible sleep, and then the next day take the exam, do okay, and then go about their lives now with like a terrible sleep schedule. Whereas for me, what I would do is I would sleep at 8, 9 p.m. if I had a test in the morning, get my 8 hours, and then wake up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. and study for the 4 or 5 hours that I had left with a full night of sleep, and now having studied just as much as them from a quality perspective. Anyway, I'm rambling now, so this is the end of the video. If you like these kinds of videos where I talk about my consulting experience, what I gained from it, especially the unique things that I don't think are out there on the internet, let me know. And otherwise, let Rohit and I know any other consulting or other videos that you want made. But until then, we'll see you guys next video.